struggling with this angle. Listening to a podcast right now between Pomp and Robert Breedlove, the Breedlove. And they're talking a little bit about Michael Saylor and what he was able to do to kind of become a pioneer of the space. Michael Saylor, if you don't know, is the CEO of MicroStrategy, and he is famous for putting half or all of his treasury into Bitcoin. And what he has done recently, maybe a month or so ago, is basically borrow money, borrow US dollars, and put all of that money into Bitcoin and something with convertible notes. Not sure what that means, but basically he had borrowed US dollars in order to buy Bitcoin. And if he's going to do it, other people, other big business leaders are probably going to do the same if we believe in Bitcoin and all of its promises. So I want to talk a little bit today about what is your plan going to be. If we see the big boys do it, the big businesses do it, then what is you as a pleb, a proletariat, a little citizen, a little global citizen, what's your move going to be? You know, these people are borrowing millions upon millions of dollars, and they might be buying Bitcoin. You probably don't have millions of dollars to just, market buy Bitcoin one day. So what are you going to do? What can you do? You don't have millions of dollars. Well, that's one of the great things about Bitcoin and Litecoin, is that you can buy Bitcoin and Litecoin for $5. It's amazing to me that some people still think you can't buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. It's kind of the whole point. You can buy $5 worth, which is, I don't know what that is, 10,000 Satoshis, just a guess. So if you can buy Bitcoin, the same Bitcoin that Michael Saylor and other CEOs are buying for millions of dollars, and they're wanting to 1x and 10x their investment, well, guess what? Your little $5 investment can 5x, 10x along the ride. It's the same network. It's the same network effect. This is the first time in history where it looks like what the rich are doing, the poor can do as well. And this movement actually started with the poor, the retail. It started from scratch. So if you're looking to become your own Michael Saylor and do a bunch of little mini Michael Saylor moves, well, guess what? You can buy Bitcoin yourself. Now, you might not be able to borrow $1 million, but I'm interested in what your little mini Michael Saylor moves are going to be. I would never say borrow US dollars for something like 8% interest, because that could get you in some hot water in case Bitcoin's volatility, if you didn't time the market right and you didn't play it well, maybe you did too long of a year, or maybe you did it for 3 years and the payments get tricky and Bitcoin goes down. So I wouldn't play that game. But let me talk about what would work theoretically. If you borrowed US dollars at 0%, or let's even say you borrowed US dollars at 5% interest over a year, you could buy Bitcoin and just pay off that loan with that when you sell that Bitcoin along the way. And most likely, you're probably going to win. You might not. So Bitcoin is at 50,000. If you borrow $10,000, bought that Bitcoin, and along the way you paid it back, however you need to pay it back, 6% interest, whatever. If Bitcoin, doing some little quick math here, if Bitcoin's you buy at 50, and through the year you sell, and Bitcoin ends up at, let's say, 60, I'm pretty sure you made out that way. Now, you're not going to make a ton of that money that way if it's $10,000. But basically, it's the same play that Michael Saylor and others have done on a smaller scale. So if you're a smaller time player, like many of us are, don't be too frightened to do these moves. Don't be ridiculous. Don't borrow too much money. Don't borrow money that you can't pay back if things go south. You never want to be over leveraged. But if you want to leverage yourself in terms of, even if things go bad, can I pay it off? I would say go for it. Is it risky? Of course, but it's also risky not to take the move. So that's one idea of how to expose yourself to more Bitcoin. Another one is just clearly just buying it with all the cash you have on hand. Maybe you have $15,000, just spend it all on Bitcoin. That's certainly something you could do, and you could do it easily. You could leverage your Bitcoin buys with BlockFi. I've talked about BlockFi a little bit. If you borrow that, going back to that theoretical model, if you borrow that $10,000 at 6%, you buy that Bitcoin at spot at 50, and then you put it on something like BlockFi, which gives you 6% interest on your Bitcoin, the numbers keep on going in your favor. As long as there's not a huge crash, which there just was a 30% correction, and guess what? We're already back to 50,000. So what is that? Only like a 10% crash right now? So there's ways to make some money. There's certainly risky things. So if you don't have any dry powder, like I don't, every bit of my savings has gone to Bitcoin, Litecoin. And if you still want exposure, there's only so many things you could do. Sell the chairs, sell the house, don't sell your house. There's only so many things you can do. You're gonna have to get creative in how to expose yourself to Bitcoin. Work a second job, sell things on eBay, things you don't need, sell. And when you think, I want more exposure to Bitcoin, I don't have that, you start thinking, what can I do with my budget right now to sock away some extra money so I could simply just throw that at Bitcoin? So that's what I've kind of done throughout the years. Probably need to be a little bit better about my budget and not spending so much of my money on filth and crap. But these are the types of things that Bitcoin forces you to do. It makes you realize, man, this Bitcoin is such a powerful asset, and it's only going up, that if every dollar I save, it's gonna become 2 or 3 or more dollars in the future. So it really puts a emphasis on personal budgets, personal savings, investment. One other thing you could do, this is a little bit even more risky than just borrowing money, and is on more of a numbers game, is that if you have the easiest thing to do is, once you're a 401k or whatever investment vehicle you have, just simply allocate it to a Bitcoin ETF. Those don't really exist. I have certain investment accounts that I can't get Bitcoin yet. Maybe you do have a 401k, or maybe you do have something where you can make a Bitcoin play. I shouldn't say that. I have an investment vehicle where I don't have too much. Basically, I had to invest in different mutual funds that they offer, and I noticed, oh, look at this mutual fund. It has Tesla. Tesla just bought Bitcoin. I would probably have never bought Tesla because I'm kind of more towards that value-ended stock play versus that growth. I don't think anyone's stupid for doing the growth, but I tended to go for more value-added or even technology stocks rather than the pure growth stocks, meaning like Tesla's PE ratio is like through the roof. So I never knocked them, never denied them, but it just wasn't for me. But now that they have Bitcoin, I saw a mutual fund that has Tesla in it. I said, oh, well, I want exposure to that, because now that Tesla has Bitcoin, I mean, that company has no limits now. And so those are some of the things you can do to kind of expose yourself to Bitcoin if you don't have dry powder in your bank account to just simply buy it. So what I was going to say is, if you have no option to buy Bitcoin, you could liquidate some of your 401k or investment vehicles. Now that's really risky, because right now it looks pretty safe to earn 8, 10, 15% on your kind of like those technology stocks and whatnot. But let's say you think the stock market is overheated. If you do borrow against your 401k, basically let's say your 401k is worth $100,000. If you take out, and I'm not exactly sure exactly how it works, but I kind of read up on it and did a little digging my own. But basically, let's say you have a 401k that's worth $100,000, and you take out 10,000, and you can do it at probably 6% interest. Basically, you have to owe $10,600 in like 1 year. You could select like how long. So what you could do is get that Bitcoin, take that $10,000 out, buy Bitcoin, and you could either sit on it and sell it on its way to pay that off that $10,600. So it sounds stupid. Well, no, it doesn't sound stupid, but you bought that Bitcoin at $10,000, hopefully not too many fees. So today you buy that Bitcoin at $50,000, and you have $10,000. So hopefully without too many fees, you get, 0.2 Bitcoin. So along the way of paying off that loan you took off from your 401k, basically you do what you would have to sell Bitcoin, but you're going to break even. Let's say if Bitcoin's at about 50,000, you're going to probably break even with fees included and everything at about $53,000 to $55,000 a Bitcoin. Now let's say it goes to 60. Well, you just made a profit. Let's say it goes to 70. You just made a huge profit. Let's say it goes to 288 by September 1st, 2021. Well, you just made a huge profit. And that is just sitting on Bitcoin. If you put it on BlockFi, then the numbers go even more in your favor. So someone that did this was, now I would never suggest what he did. He admitted this on Twitter, is that he actually lied to his bank about wanting to buy a Lambo or something, borrowed the money, and is doing this exact thing with Bitcoin. I'm not sure if I know he's sponsored by BlockFi, but he's doing this exact thing with Bitcoin, and if you put it on BlockFi, the numbers are even more in your favor. So people have done this and are doing it. It's super risky, and I myself am thinking about doing a very small amount with like kind of my financial plan right now. So I am actually going to do this. It's going to take about a year. I'll let you know how it goes. And so I would say go ahead and do this and be risky if and only if when shit hits the fan that you could still pay it off. So for example, I would do this with $5,000 or $10,000, thinking that if I bought Bitcoin at $50,000 today, and if it dropped to $5,000 or $10,000, would I still be able to pay off my loan if shit really starts to hit the fan and Bitcoin crashes? My answer is yes. So the only way I would do this risky business play is if the stock or the Bitcoin goes, I would only do this risky business play if stuff really goes south and you can still pay off your loan. If you can't, if you're doing this without leveraging any type of 401k or money, be cautious. Don't do it. If you had zero money to your name, don't borrow $100,000 to do this. That's incredibly risky and would be the worst financial advice ever for anyone to give. But I've already given you a scenario. If you have $10,000, if you borrow $10,000 against your 401k, that, by the way, eventually that money goes back into your 401k. The only money you're losing out on is the money that you're not earning in your stocks. So let's say you have $100,000 in your stocks, you borrow 10, now you're only making the stock money off that 90,000 instead of 100,000. So if you think the stocks are going to outrun Bitcoin, well, don't do it at all. But if you think Bitcoin is going to outrun those stocks wildly, I think, in my opinion, it's going to outrun them wildly. Well, then that risk you're taking is going to pay off. So if you have the means, I would say go for it. You're going to need to be organized. You're going to start some spreadsheets, get dorky, but it's possible. That's what Michael Saylor is doing. That's what a number of different business leaders are doing. So do you want to be like the Michael Saylors of the world, or do you just want to do nothing? So there's different ways. Even if you don't have much money here or there, to get yourself into a Bitcoin position. And soon enough, in a week or so, BlockFi is going to have that credit card that where you spend US dollars instead of getting dollars back or points back or airlines miles back, you can get those dollars back in Bitcoin. So that's like a risk-free way to expose yourself to some Bitcoin. So even if you don't have any dry powder, there's different ways to expose yourself to Bitcoin that maybe you're going to have to take some risk. You don't have to, but there are some certain ways to expose yourself to some Bitcoin that could help you with your financial plan in your life. All right. Thanks. Have a good day.